All right, so here is the topology that we're going to work with in our lab example. And for the purposes of our section here on VLANs, we're simply going to focus on switch 1, switch 3, and then the connectivity between R1 and R2. So we're going to want to look on switch 1 at the default configuration of the interfaces. Make sure, first of all, that we do have connectivity to R1 and switch 3. And in addition to that, we just want to verify what the default VLAN is. We haven't done any configuration on them other than to allow the console to be perpetual, basically. In other words, exec timeout 0 space 0. That way, while we're in the lab environment here, it doesn't time out on us. So let's go over to the command line and take a look at what switch 1 looks like from a default configuration standpoint. Okay, and here we are on switch 1, and we're just going to issue, first of all, the show VLAN command. And so what we can see from our show VLAN output is just the basics of our default configuration. We have a VLAN. That VLAN is VLAN 1. It is named default, and right now it's active, and you can see the list of ports that it is active for. So FA01 through 24, and then gig01 and gig02. Now another way that we could look at this is by doing the show interface status command. So let's do that, show interface status. And so this is going to show me each port on an individual basis. It'll show me the VLAN, so we have a nice column for that, but some other elements that are nice to see here are the status of the interface, the fact that it's connected or not connected, and also the duplex and the speed. So we can see that these interfaces have auto-negotiated. We can see that they're 100 full on the ones that are connected, and that would be on F0/1 as well as F0/13. And if we go down a little bit further, we have gig01 and gig02, and those are full duplex at 1000 megabits per second, so gigabit. Again, all of these connected to VLAN 1. So that means that we're all in the same broadcast domain. All of these devices that are connected to these ports, they're all in the same VLAN 1 broadcast domain. So let's go ahead and issue the show CDP neighbors command and just validate, or at least verify, our connectivity against our topology. So show CDP neighbors. And we can see that we are connected on gig01 to switch 2, gig02 to switch 3, and then R1 on F01. So the show CDP neighbors command, it's not something that we looked at throughout the material of this particular course, but it is a handy command to look at directly connected Cisco devices and at least validate connectivity. So we can see the local interface, and then on the far right-hand side here, we can see the interface on the other side on that particular device. So the way that I would read this is, if we're worried about switch 3 and wanting to verify the connectivity of switch 3, well, what I can see here is that on switch 3, I am connected to gig01, and that connection comes from gig02 right here on switch 1. So I could draw that map, and if we look at the topology again, we would see that gig02 on switch 1 is going to connect me to gig01 on switch 3. So again, going along with this connectivity, let's move over to switch 3. Let's just issue, first of all, the same sequence of commands. So let's do a show VLAN. Only this time I'm going to enter the command brief, and you'll see that the output is a little more abbreviated, but for the most part the initial output is identical. So again, we see VLAN 1 is the default. We see that it's active and it's applied to all those ports, all 24 fast Ethernet ports and both gig ports. And then we can go ahead and issue the show interface status command, and we can see that F01 is connected on VLAN 1, same with 13 and 14, and then if we scroll down here, we can see gig01 and gig02 are connected. We can verify with the show CDP neighbor command what we are connected to, switch 1, switch 2, and R2. Now you may have noticed that we had interface 13 and 14 connected here, and interface 13 connected on switch 2. Looking at the topology, what we see is that 13 connects to the ASA from both switch 1 and switch 3, and 14 connects to our PC. Now, the ASA does not run CDP, and neither does that PC there, which is why we don't see them in a show CDP neighbor command.